everyone, and welcome to Connections for Life. I'm Ted Pete.
I'm Chad Kubo.
Squirrely Squirrelson.
That's my house.
Told you it was going to be epic.
How do you have a picture of my house? I'm Joe Surratt.
Because it's on the internet.
That's a chipmunk, just so you know. That's not a squirrel.
It doesn't even look right. How old is that picture?
I don't know. It was Google Street View. Welcome to Joe's.
In case anybody wanted to know what Joe's house looks like from the outside now, here you go, folks.
So they can stalk him.
Yeah.
We're going to get that. The fan is going to come and show up at your house now, Joe.
There was leaves in the picture, too. I cut those out, though. There's bags of leaves.
Why does the window in the attic look like somebody's been peeking out of it? That's actually
it looks like if my head's just here, it looks like a scary movie house.
Yeah, it really does. I don't live there. Really, honestly. I'm moving.
No, that's my house.
That's weird.
I was trying to be a squirrel in your front yard. It clearly didn't work.
Anyways.
That was great. Trying to be a squirrel in your front yard.
Usually all in the backyard.
How's it been? So why don't we update everyone?
How's it been? I saw you yesterday.
Literally yesterday.
Our audience doesn't know that. That's what we're going to bring that into. Why don't you give us a little bit of what you guys been up to?
Well, we haven't had an actual live episode or where we record an intro and outro since AGA.
Since AGA.
We've done a lot. 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Non-stop on the road.
AGA, then we had a little bit of a break, but it wasn't really a break because we're just preparing for the next thing. And then we went to SGA. We were at SGA this week for the first half of the week. And yeah.
I feel like today, I woke up today convinced it was Friday.
I woke up today and I don't even know what day it is anymore. Like it's somebody I referred to going to lunch somewhere, and I said to Jen this morning, sometime in the last 28 days I went to lunch with them. I know, like I think it was last week, but I'm not sure.
I'm a little turned around. SJ was good. It was good to see everybody, right? Like, I mean, it was cool to see people, familiar faces. Kind of just like AGA in that regard. Maybe a bit underwhelming with attendance, but still dealing with the COVID.
They can't all be winners. They can't all be winners.
I wouldn't say it wasn't a winner. I just, it was. I think it's just
it was not a winner all the way.
I think it's just.
I mean, if we're going to be honest, it wasn't a winner all the way through. It was decent.
What was a win though? Connections for Life in Coffee with Jim and James happy hour that we hosted.
The game show jackpot was fun. You guys did a fantastic job. So did Jim, and kudos to James once again. I mean, that guy put in a ton of work last week to put all that stuff together.
Tremendous.
I just felt like I kind of just ran in the background, which is fine because I was just tired.
You did an excellent job with prizes.
I tried. I just Chad the prize guy.
Chad the prize guy.
Should have had a t-shirt made. Darn it.
Maybe we will get you one that says.
It's been a long 2 weeks, man.
3 weeks.
It's been awesome too. I mean, it's been awesome for us. 3 weeks, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's been awesome for us. I mean,
we're not done yet.
I know the reception we've had from the industry has been absolutely amazing. Though, when we show up with our Hawaiian shirts and our shorts and flip flops, people either hate us or they love us. And the people that hate us just hate us because they aren't wearing flip flops and shorts. It's true. I mean, and everybody, it's amazing how many people stop me and go, "Wow, what an idea!" Like, what a great idea.
Well, that's such a great point, Chad. What an idea. Then you get into those conversations where they're asking what the route was, and we're like, honestly, we wanted to be game changers.
Yeah,
you want to stay relevant.
That really is what it is. It's in the climate today in our industry. I think if we're not doing something different, we're not going to exist. It's
you got to stand out.
I think it's funny the way you say different.
Different.
And you like skip a vowel.
Do I? Different. Is that what you want? Different. We can do this all day. I'll still say it different.
Different. So
I need a haircut. Right. My hairdresser got COVID. So
really bad.
His hair has COVID, he said.
No, my hair.
I think he said he got combed.
My hairdresser has COVID, so I get to rock this cat for another week or so.
Oh, your hairdresser has COVID. Now I got it.
Yeah, that makes much more sense than your hair has COVID.
It might. I don't know. I'm washing it there.
Hey, Joe, we changed the format around a couple of weeks ago. And we almost all forgot about it, but I think it's time for something, Chad.
Actually, we remembered it. He did.
Wait a minute. I got one. Remember we started doing this? I did this one other time. I want to do it again before you get to the gas fact. Remember we talked about like funny isms, like things that people say, like, throw the baby.
Is the word altruisms? Is that the word for that or no?
Why do you do that all the time?
I don't know.
Me?
I'm going, no, Ted.
I asked a question.
It's like a 50-cent word, man. We're a 5-cent word podcast, webcast. Like altruin. Like I'd have to
altruism.
look that up, literally.
I actually heard the word.
I know.
Thank you, Joe.
You're
I don't
smarter than me.
specifically know what it means, though.
No, I don't either.
You said isms, and it made me think of that, so I blurted it out.
I think it means you're just
it's
late.
altruism. I think it's what are they? Aren't they more like puns or I don't know? Anyways,
fables.
Do you guys know where the term "caught red-handed" came from? I thought this was interesting because I didn't know.
Caught red-handed, taking cookies off of the hot tray. When it came fresh out of the oven.
Just really quick, the meaning of caught red-handed, for those of you that don't know, means to be caught in the act of doing something wrong.
Okay.
So if you catch your kid like stealing candy from the drawer, they're caught red-handed, right? Chad, you want to take a guess as to where this comes from?
I don't know. I there could be so many different ones. Like Ted said, pulling something hot out.
It's not a bad guess.
It could be like taking the cookie off of the hot tray. Hands.
It's a really obscure one.
Go ahead. I'll take it.
This originates from Old English law that ordered any person to be punished for butchering an animal that wasn't their own. The only way the person could be convicted is if he was caught with the animal's blood still on his hand, i.e. caught red-handed.
That's a good one.
That is good. I feel like I know something more now, though.
Yeah, you learned something on Fake Friday.
This isn't an imitation Friday. This is definitely an imitation Friday.
Fake Friday.
Fake Friday.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. So now it's time for gas fact of gas. Gas fact.
Gas fact.
Fact of gas.
Why can't I find my video? I'm gonna cry.
I'm gonna ask you guys one from Game Show Jackpot.
Oh boy, I got it wrong in live.
Remember? Hold on, I gotta find one. I have two, but I'm gonna read.
Joe goes, I remember.
What? According to PHMSA, you actually read this one, Ted. Okay. According to PHMSA, because I was surprised that you actually said PHMSA right, didn't say PH.
Oh, I remember you were standing next to me and you go, I can't believe you said PHMSA.
Can't believe you got PHMSA right. No,
I'm insulted that you would think I wouldn't know that.
Well, PHMSA doesn't really look like PHMSA. Like you feel.
Yeah, but we talk about PHMSA all the time in our job.
Yeah, but I spell it FISMA.
Well, that's because you're an idiot.
According to PHMSA, there are approximately blank million miles of underground pipelines in the United States.
What am I choosing?
A, 3.1, B, 4.5, C, 6.8, or D, 1.9.
I think we guessed C, and it was A.
I'm going to go 3.1. Yeah, A.
It is 3.1. Yeah.
Yeah, we guessed C. I guessed C.
I just wanted to challenge you, knuckleheads, a little bit and see if you actually paid any attention.
We didn't remember the footage, but we remembered that A was the correct answer.
That's
100% what happened there. I knew C was wrong.
That's what I knew too.
And I knew A was right, but I didn't know what the distances were.
How about this one, guys?
Ooh,
residential natural gas accounts for blank % of total U.S. greenhouse gas emissions. I'll read it again. 7. Residential natural gas accounts for only blank of total U.S. greenhouse gas emissions.
It's less than 7, I think.
A, 3.5, B, 12.5, C, 4.6, D, 8.8.
I'm going 4.6.
C.
It is 4.6.
I just can't. And that's the amazing, oh, wow. That's something pretty amazing that you just said right there. Think about that. They are chasing us around about our industry, right? But they're chasing us around about our industry, and that part of it's 4.6 of it. It's not even 5% of the total gases. Like it's just
not. Yeah,
I know, but at the same time, I mean, like
we can do better.
Oh, you can absolutely want to reduce the 4.6%.
Yeah,
absolutely want to.
But I think you should be chasing the 40%er.
I think they are. I just don't think that maybe because it's not part of our day-to-day life that we don't really. It's more not impacted by it.
That could be true.
I don't know.
I saw a thing the other day though that with the meat production, like we talked about in the past, and the biogas that comes from that, they're talking about trying to convert that essentially the poop into some type of renewable energy too.
That was another one that I had. There's 157 right now renewable natural gas like operating facilities in the United States. 157. So I mean there are some. It's not like There's none.
I think a lot of those though are smaller ones that are based off small landfills. In the Northeast, that's a big thing. A big thing is in the Northeast, especially powering a small city off of that landfill that's maybe in their property line. I don't know. I mean, how much is that really? What'd you say, Jeff? Go ahead.
I was going to bring up nothing. I was going to bring up meat sweats.
To let that one go.
No, I was just going to say the meat sweats from when we were talking the other day. About
definitely meat sweats.
Meat sweats.
We went to a Brazilian steakhouse and there was a lot of gas emitted that day. Right. We did not. We added to the global total.
All right. Well, I think it's time for us to bring our guest on. Okay.
Oh, we do guests still?
Not 3 weeks.
I thought it was just us talking.
So today we are going to bring on a gentleman that I met at one of our associations a couple months back. We recorded him a little while ago, and it's Jason Cramer, and he is the director of operations for Wright Traffic Control. So they are a phenomenal company that does obviously traffic control for a lot of utility underground construction. Okay. And Jason spent some time with us, super fun guy, super knowledgeable. I mean, I never learned so much about like I was shocked as to how much actually goes into like, I and whenever what was his title, Teddy? Director of Operations. When I think of that and you say Wright Traffic Control, I just think of him standing there next to the guy going, turn the stop sign. Turn the director. Sign. The director. That's what I thought of, but I was amazed how much goes into the actual like that part of the job. The thought and the process is put in to keep people safe and stuff like that. It's pretty amazing.
There's a lot.
He told us the timeline of like how long they're actually allowed to hold somebody at a stop sign for, and how they do their best to program that into the workday and work with
crazy.
Every aspect of it. It was pretty cool. The funniest thing, I don't know if he said it in the interview, was when he talks about going undercover to make sure that everything.
I don't know if we talked about that during the interview or not.
Well, if we didn't, Jason will go undercover to make sure that everything is getting conducted.
Maybe he didn't want to talk about this because he's undercover.
How about we have him on so he can talk?
All right. Without further ado, welcome to the show, Jason Cramer, Wright Traffic
007, Jason.
Hello, Jason, and welcome to Connections for Life. How are you, my friend?
Doing just fine, man. Good afternoon. Hope everybody's doing well.
How are you? Good. Good to see you.
Likewise.
It's very rare, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but normally I'm the one that is bringing the guests on. So I have pre-existing relationships or have had conversations, and it's a little different that Teddy has brought somebody on. So I want to give you a little tire pump, Teddy, for jumping in there.
Oh, we're never going to release Jason's episode, though.
Yeah, this is never going to be
right.
We're not even
doing it to appease Ted right now. Yeah,
we're not even actually recording this.
He left again, and then he came back different spot.
With your internet as bad as it is, you should probably not monkey around with that. But no, in all seriousness, Jason, thanks for coming on the show. I think what we have learned about you is pretty interesting, and I think it'd be beneficial for our audience to hear about what you do. But before we do that, one of the first questions we always like to ask is, how did you get yourself involved in the industry?
Well, I kind of fell into it. I do not come from the utilities industry whatsoever, certainly not traffic control, not really even construction. I spent the last 10 to 15 years of my life after college in distribution centers, warehousing, pretty large operations, thousands of employees, inside a metal building that wasn't climate controlled.
So like Amazon.
Yeah, very similar to Amazon. Yep, things like that. One of the companies I worked for was a metalworking distribution company, so familiar with hands-on tools and things like that. Awesome. To be honest with you, the way I fell into this was someone reached out to me on LinkedIn. I saw a job posting. I always keep my resume kind of up to date. Reached out, spoke with a guy for a minute, asked me to come in for an interview. I came in, interviewed, went extremely well. It was something that was interesting and challenging for me. That drew me here. This is a family-owned company, so kind of stepping away from that more corporate suit and tie environment. And I'm glad I did. It was probably one of the best choices I've ever made in my life. I really, really enjoy the support that I get working here with my team. Luke Wright, our owner and president, is, just very down-to-earth guy. Couldn't ask with a better group of people. So I just decided to take on a new challenge, and I wanted to help grow something with my own two hands, you know. I think we've done a pretty good job of that here.
I have to agree with Jason on that statement. You know, I got to meet Luke and Jason down at a venue that we were attending together, and it was an absolute pleasure getting to know a guy, you know, president of the company and everything, but like you said, so down to earth, so, you know, just genuine. The Wright traffic control group was great. So sorry I had to interject there.
That's all right.
Yeah.
You don't get any extra money for that, so you're good.
And that was your only one time, Ted.
Yeah. Now, Jason, just really quick, how long have you been there?
So I've been with WTC 2-3 years or so. So I'm still relatively new, but I was fortunate enough to learn a lot from Luke and some people that trained me in the industry. And honestly, I learned a lot from my employees. They were training me without even know they were training me. You know, they were teaching me the ins and outs and the lessons that needed to be learned about our industry and the utility sector. So, you know, kudos to those guys that didn't know they were teaching me everything I know.
They're all going to be asking for raises directly after watching this.
I'm certain. As a matter of fact, my phone's already blowing up.
Are you so I go on to the next question. What exactly do you guys do? I mean, I know a little bit, but why don't you give us the deep dive into what WTC does?
That's a good question. It's funny too, when I'm doing any type of interviews for, let's say, like support staff or something, generally I'll like to ask them, you know, what do you know about us, right? Yeah. And they're like, well, you do traffic control. Well, there's a lot of different entities and ins and outs and niches in traffic control. But I will say our mainstay is flag men and women, right? That's flaggers standing out there, stop, slow paddles. You know, we're the guys that make you late to work because we want you to slow down and not run anybody over. You know, we're the guys that catch the heat when your neighborhood gets torn up because they're replacing some pipe. You know,
I always feel awkward when I'm the first guy in line. I'm not going to lie to you, Jason. When I'm standing there next to the guy with the stop sign and I'm like, do you think he's going to turn it? We keep making eye contact.
Yeah.
Do we wave? Do we chat? Do I say hello?
Hey,
if he turns around backwards, should I just go?
No. While we're talking about that, and I have everybody who's watching this attention, we legally have 15 minutes to hold you there. So,
really?
Sorry.
Wow.
I like that.
I didn't know that. Little fun fact.
Next time I pull up, I'm going to go.
I am it too. 4
Gotta
minutes.
go.
Got 4 minutes left.
Yeah, I think, you know, and I just guessing, I'm going to have to say Chad's probably a terrible driver. Just guessing.
I'm a slow driver.
But
I'm not a bad driver. I'm a
Definitely
slow
the worst
driver.
I'll say this that we created a rule, a policy based around people like Chad, and it's called the 5-foot rule.
We're just going to call it the Chad rule. That's also
called the Chad rule.
Oddly enough.
Yeah, we our policy there is we don't allow you within 5 feet of a vehicle. You believe it or not, we've had some, you know, in the past foot getting run over because a driver says, "Hey, what's the holdup?" and they lean over to talk to you in your window. You know, because most of the engagement's usually negative. People are yelling and cussing at our guys, but
come on, I gotta go to work.
We're like, hey, great job holding the stop sign, buddy. Like, they're always mad, right?
I think that's the one thing that I really like about what we do on the show and getting to meet people in industries that, you know, in parts of the industry, they're different than what we do, right?
Sure.
Because I don't think, you know, I would have never known the things that you just told us. And for us, for the common person that's driving down the street and sees somebody there with a flag or a stop sign or whatever it is, we just assume, wow, that's a really hard job. Like, what do you need to know? Flip the flag, turn the thing over, like, right? But there's so many things that go into all of that, and so much thought that goes into the safety around the employees, around your employees and the people that work for you and with you. A lot of people would never have that, you know, impression or understanding. So I think that's really cool.
Sure. If I move out of the way, this is actually one of our zones. If you just can get a picture, this is kind of what our men and women do. This is a flagger actually right here standing on my finger. You know, this is a pretty big to do here. So, you know, we also get into not just flagging. We'll do some road closures. You know, we'll send in MOT, maintenance of traffic plans for city ordinances to shut down roads for periods of times and things of that nature.
You say that, I think a lot of people don't realize how much actually has to go into that. I mean, I did a job years ago where we did some work on some pipelines under bridges in New York City. And I couldn't believe the amount of stuff that they had to go through just to close a lane at night for us to work on this bridge. I was blown away.
There's permitting issues in some city ordinances. Sometimes there's road restrictions. Hey, you're only allowed to work on this road from 9 to 3, or, whatever that looks like. And, to Joe's point about the ins and outs, it is somewhat of a thankless job. And a lot of people in the utility sector, flagging is the last thing. Traffic control is the last thing you think about when someone's coming to replace your services.
Sure.
These guys are the first line of defense, and the general public's first idea is maybe to get upset that we're slowing them down or stopping them. But just to throw another quick little stat out there, in 2019, the U.S. Department of Labor reported over 842 fatalities in traffic-related work zone related incidences, and 135 of those were employees. They were doing a job. Right, you see the signs on the highway every now and then. My daddy works here. Slow down. If your family isn't involved in this industry, you wouldn't think about it. It's like when you get a new car. I buy this car and now I start seeing that car all over the place. I didn't even think about this until I started doing it, and now on my way to work or on my travels, like when I went down and met you in Florida at that conference, Ted, I start to notice signs and cones and, hey, is this proper? Is the spacing? Are these guys safe? I can't help it.
Have you pulled over yet and yelled at anybody?
I have not. I have not.
Too far.
I don't yell at them, but I have on a couple occasions. They were doing some paving work down by my house, which we don't work just for utility contractors. We also work for heavy highway and paving contractors. I saw a couple of guys that were standing out in the middle of the road while a company was paving. The guy was missing a pair. He didn't have his safety glasses on. It was super hot that day, no water. I kind of just nonchalantly, slowly driving through, just kind of, hey, and he looked over at me and I threw water out the window and tossed him a pair of safety glasses that were tinted so he could get some type of relief.
That's cool.
Awesome, man.
I think it's you're right. It's got to be a thankless job, right? Honestly. I've never pulled up to a construction area and been like, yes. I never have in my life, I promise you.
It's a tough go, man. You got to think these guys, these men and women are out there, the first line of defense, cars whizzing by. You might not think it's a big deal, but I tell you what, if you're standing on the side of the road behind that fog line and a car goes by you only doing 30 miles an hour,
they're hauling.
Yeah, man. And they're standing out there in the heat. They don't think about this. If a utility contractor cuts the road open, okay, the flaggers cannot leave at all until that work is complete. If they don't get to, it's tough to get breaks. There's long days, early morning, late nights. I definitely respect them and have a newfound respect for them after working here and understanding what they do. So
I do too.
No doubt.
Just talking. But then the other thing I took a note here, because when you were talking about it, I said, man, what a convenience for the utility or for the contractor or whoever pays your guys' bill, essentially, because no longer do they have to worry about going through the permits and the regulations and all this stuff, because there's someone that's an expert in that field that they can turn to do that for them. I think that's so, having been a contractor, having had to shut down roads and stuff like that in my past. All right. I know that it's one of the last things you think about. Yep. And now when you get a bid package, I can just go, all right, I'll get a number from Jason on that. And I don't have to worry about that part. When I get the number back, I put it in my plan. How awesome that is. That's so good.
You don't think about it though, right? Like, I mean, honestly, before we started having these conversations and learning about what your company does, like that was just an annoyance.
Yeah. Well, and you're spot on too. Part of, let's say if we find a new client that we're interested in working with, or we feel like we should be working with, that's part of the pitch that we give them is, hey, listen, some of these companies try to handle traffic control internally. And that can be difficult, right? They'll try to have somebody play double duty. Maybe they'll grab a laborer, right? Because I know we didn't mention this yet, but for those watching, listening, our company is 100% unionized. All of our people are signatory to the labor unions, right?
We're getting there.
We're getting there. It's in the question.
Oh, okay. I'll leave that there then.
I mean, we can talk about it. It doesn't matter.
Oh, it doesn't matter. We can't.
No,
it really
totally
doesn't.
Fine. I mean, it's an important part of what you guys do, and it's an important part of your company. So let's just touch on that. You guys are a union shop.
We are.
what are the challenges that go along with it? I'm sure there's plenty.
Well, there are challenges, and I think everyone's feeling that kind of labor force challenge right now. With the state of events that have happened over the last couple of years has been tough. I will say, thankfully, we were okay through the COVID-19 Corona situations in that we are essential workers, right? You need natural gas to your house. Sometimes we work with electric contractors. Those things are needed. So we got to work through the pandemic. There were some challenges that came with that as far as social distancing and, making sure there was hand sanitizer and masks available and all of those things. And I want to say it's not necessarily challenging, but you have to know what you're doing working in a union environment, right? There's agreements that need to be followed and policies that need to be followed on both sides, whether it be from the employee standpoint, the union standpoint, or the company standpoint. So just knowing those agreements, knowing those policies, adhering to them and following them properly, and just really communicating well with.
What union is that, Jason?
Our men and women are signatory to the laborers unions.
Oh, that was so I spent my first 9 years in a coating plant, and we were our shop was Laborers Local 57 in Philadelphia, essentially.
Yep.
So
we work with the 57 now. Yeah.
So So I was in management. Well, I was young, but I was in management, and I was lucky enough to sit through 2 or 3 different labor
negotiations.
It was pretty neat. It was awesome, especially being that age and being able to do it. I was young. So
like you're referring to collective bargering agreements.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Short-term memory loss.
That's all right. Yeah.
That's probably part of when working in the plant.
Right. Well, and again, that's part of back to just what I wanted to finish up there when we talk to a client. Part of the leverage we try to give to them on where we add value is wearing multiple hats, right? We are the experts. The only thing our people know is traffic control, how to keep you safe, what your proper buffer spacing is, what your proper sign spacing is, what signs to use, as opposed to maybe a laborer that does multiple things and you say, hey, Ted, grab this sign and go stop traffic real quick. You may not know where to stand to keep yourself safe or how to alert your guys or the guys that you're working with, how to alert them properly of a potential work zone intrusion. So
you're 100% right there. Back in my days as an electrician, there was a time we were placing some lights under a railroad set of tracks, and we threw some scaffolding and put some cones around us. We didn't even have a flagger, and we almost had a catastrophic one there.
Well, I have a question about that. Like, say you go out and you set something up incorrectly, or you have somebody that's not following the rules of, I'm sure there's probably federal guidelines and things that you have to state guidelines. Are there inspectors that come out to make sure that you guys are doing it right? I mean, how are you monitored?
Regulated, governed.
Sure.
Yeah. Right. Sure.
So a lot of times the platform that we're working on, whatever energy platform that might be, they definitely have their own inspectors that will come out and do audits. They will audit the contractor and any subcontractor on that job site. So they'll audit the work functions of the pipe company that's putting the pipe in the ground.
Gotcha.
We just get folded into that because the first thing you see, like this photo here in the background, the first thing you see is the traffic, right? So that's a visual, that's an optic. Is this safe? Things of that nature. So we do get regulated by our client and the prime, we'll call them, the utility company. We also do our own internal audits though. So we have field supervisors that go out every day, do site safety audits to make sure that continuous education always happens, right?
I have a question in regards to the 5-foot rule, like you said before. Is that an internal thing, or is that the Chad rule, or is that
the Chad rule? Yeah, the Chad rule is
across the board.
No, it's an internal thing that we use just because we saw an issue there.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm coming over to chat with Mr. Driver, and by the time you may hear on my radio, you may hear my partner say, "Hey, you're all good to send traffic." Before I can step back, you may get my foot, which again, we require steel-toed boots, but
still,
we want to keep them away from anything. And it's not just drivers either, Chad. So I won't bust your chops too hard. We make them stay 5 feet away from any piece of equipment that's on their job site, whether it be a Mini X, a dump truck, any of that stuff. We want 5 foot around anything. That gives you time to.
That's pretty interesting. So
I would like 5 feet away from everybody too at all times. That's my new rule.
That sounds
That's why
great,
that's why we didn't have a problem with Corona, because we already were like,
give you a
hey,
big hula hoop, Joe.
You got to go another 12 inches, whatever.
right.
You'd have to put Chad in a bubble boy.
It kind of leads me into, I mean, things like that are policy for you guys. And I assume that being the director of operations, you get involved in that stuff. But what else do you do? I mean, I have to assume you get involved in sales. You probably dip your hands into a little bit of everything, is my assumption. But why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do get to wear multiple hats here. I am in the forefront of sales. Some of our territories that we're new to, just to kind of maybe give you a scope. So we run north of the Mason-Dixon line, pretty much Chicago, Illinois area, all the way through. We just opened an office in Philadelphia a few months ago. So Philadelphia, that Baltimore, DC kind of area, and everything in between. So I'm in charge of overseeing all of our area managers. So we have a manager for every state. I'm sort of their liaison, teaching them the things that I need, that I know about the traffic control industry, making sure policies and procedures are followed through with. Every state and every local has a different agreement on the way we operate as far as,
That's crazy too.
Yeah, it is.
No.
It is, as much as you would think it would be the
Lot to
same. It's
manage.
different.
Got a lot of
Wages-
balls in the air, huh?
Yeah, wages are different. So, overseeing that daily operations, I work a lot on resources, making sure that our area managers have any resources available to them, whether it be equipment, maybe trucks or a thing that they may need. We look at daily numbers. How many jobs did we hit today? How many jobs did we miss today? Are your levels appropriate on employees, right? Do you have enough employees coming into the season? Then I turn my hat inside out, and I do a little bit on the marketing and sales side with.
I thought you were going for the rally cap.
Yeah.
Right. Rally.
I was
cap.
gonna, or for the
Over the top.
or
Yep.
for the top secret mission stuff.
Yeah. So along with
Yeah.
Jessica, I know Ted's met her. She's our business manager here, but the three, her, myself, and Luke, do a lot of the sales. At conventions like how I met you, Ted, or just word of mouth.
Yeah.
We work with a contractor and they know another person. They like to introduce us because we do a fantastic job, and we hold our people to that next level, and I think people appreciate that. So I would say last portion of what I do is I try to think about next year, 2 years, 3 years. Where are we going? Try to set ourselves up for success there, and making sure that we're always growing. One thing that we do well is scale, right? So, just knowing those processes. And again, I'm trying to train my replacements now. I'm trying to train these area managers to take a little bit more from me, because as we grow, I know that, my attention will be need to pay.
It's the only way you can grow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it sounds like you got a good handle on it, but, and I'm assuming you guys do, but the question I think I have is, and the one we always like to ask is, what's the biggest challenge, like in your day to day, like with wearing all those hats and having to and be engaged in so many different areas of the organization? Is it finding people? Is it the safety aspect? Is it the HR functions that I'm sure that you undertake as well? What is it? What is the biggest challenge for you? Personally, in your position?
I would say right now it's forecasting, understanding what the client's going to need, and keeping the labor force up with that. We're kind of an on-demand flagging service. We do long-term projects and we do one-day projects. So trying to find that balance of having enough quality employees to job ratio, right? The last thing we want is to have, 50 extra employees in an office that don't get to work as much as we want them to. And it can be difficult, from our client perspective, it can be difficult to gauge, right? There may be permitting issues, there may be weather issues, things of that nature. So that can be
Imagine the
difficult.
weather ones.
It's the balance,
Yeah.
right?
I
It's just
don't
the
even
balance.
think about that.
The balancing act, yeah. And pivoting, something's always happening. We've got well over 400 employees, or we have 8-9 offices, and scaling and being new to some areas. Learning those nuances can be difficult, because again, these state regulations can be different. You know, there is the MUTCD, which is kind of the national guideline on traffic control devices and how you should, you know, do certain lane closures. Well, then different states have other publications, Pub 213.
Didn't you just mention the other day when we talked, I think you mentioned that, I mean, I'm from Ohio too, but is it Kentucky that has really strange, like different, I mean, there's some real strange laws and things like that.
For sure. Yeah.
Why are you picking
Absolutely.
on Kentucky?
I don't mean to. I'm going to go through there next week.
We're
And I don't
going
know
there
if they're
next
hold me
week, and
for
now we
15
got to deal with
minutes.
that.
I don't know if they're going to hold me for 15 minutes or not.
You're setting him up to get his business kicked out of Kentucky.
Right.
Yeah, I'll keep Kentucky out of it for now, but yeah, absolutely. There's definitely some nuances, man. Believe it or not, you know, it's almost like you could think of it as government. You know, there's a federal government and the local government. The local guidelines would supersede anything that would be in that MUTCD. So it's getting in the weeds, you know, learning that there's a SHA book over in Maryland that you have to know. Learning those special nuances can be difficult for someone like me that travels around so much.
Sure.
That's why we find a lot of value in having an area manager that lives in that territory, that can study that one Bible, right? And really have an intimate knowledge of it. And learning as we go, man. Pivoting is something that can be difficult sometimes and change, but you know, you've got to find your calm in the storm. So
it's awesome.
That's a great phrase, trying to find your calm in the storm.
Yeah.
Wow. Listen, Jason, I've absolutely enjoyed this tremendously. I've learned,
I have about 500 more questions.
Well, I know he does, but you know, we also have like, you know, 10 more of these to do today, I think. I don't know if they'll be nearly as fun as this. And since nobody knows who's coming on after us, you know, it's not a slight.
Wait,
but but seriously, this was an absolute blast, and it goes to show the power of connections. Because essentially, like, we met at a trade show or a conference, all right, and we're unaware really how our businesses could intersect and intertwine and whatnot. After a couple of days of just, you know, getting to know each other and networking and whatnot, we now know, all right, for one, we could be referrals to each other. And
we can't sell you anything.
But there's nothing we can sell them, but that's okay because
that's not the point. I know.
Relationship.
Again, I think that's the byproduct of the show, is that we get to meet people that work in different areas that facilitate the greater good of what we all do.
Sure.
We would have never had the exposure to meet, talk to, or understand. I will tell you that leaving my home today or wherever I go somewhere again and I run into a flagging crew, I have a much higher level of appreciation for what those people are doing and patience for what's happening. Instead of just being concerned with.
I wouldn't mind having you come on sometime and maybe do a LinkedIn Live or something like that.
Sure.
About maybe some of the laws and the rules, and I don't know. It's just interesting to me because I don't really know anything about it. So
I absolutely will do that. I have no problem. I love talking about it. You know, the special nuances. You know, and let's be honest, drivers are getting worse, right? Everyone's distracted. Everyone's got one of these, right? You know, and I'm sure the last thing, hopefully people see this, get a little different perspective that, you know, the last thing you want to do is be looking down at your phone, look up, and the next thing you know, there's a work zone and you're in that work zone and you hit a worker. You know, that would just, I could only imagine how that would feel. So
absolutely.
Yeah. I'm going to actually probably pay you to go to Chad's house and just mark off his whole street so he can.
I was just going to go out. I was actually just going to go out and do it myself and hope I did it right.
There's not a chance you will.
Hey, real quick, Ted, do you want to, just to touch on the relationship you were talking about there, did you mention to these guys about, you know, we were in that government committee relations meeting and how we kind of,
this is a cool story, guys. Yeah, this is a really cool story. You tell it. Go ahead. So, but you guys will appreciate this, I think, Joe and Chad.
No, I wanted to come from your perspective. I'll start, and then I'll hand it off to you. So
if you guys don't start, I'm going to make up a story.
Yeah, no. So Ted and I, we meet each other. I think it was at
opening
like a
ceremony.
registration. Registration thing. Anyways, we go into this government relations thing, and everybody's talking about how to get this message out about the Green New Bill and going electric, and how, you know, governments are trying to regulate natural gas, so on and so forth. And someone stands up and starts talking about social media and maybe how people aren't as engaged. So I'm sitting there, I'm looking around the room, and Ted and I had already had a talk about what you guys are doing here with CFL, and I thought it was fantastic. So Ted's just kind of sitting over there, not really saying anything. And I'm all the way across the room. I grab my phone out and I text him. I say, hey, if you don't get up now, like they're serving this up to you on a platter, talking about social media and getting the word out, like, please, like, save us here.
Well,
And then
so,
And he left.
yeah, I stood up and left the room immediately. No,
I need to use the bathroom.
so for this conference, you know, I'm still fairly new to this. Was only the second year I'd been into attendance to it. You don't want to, you know, I know I'm overbearing. I know I can, you know, break boundaries and stuff like that. And I know I also have an ability, as my wife will say, of I'm terrible at reading a room. But I wasn't trying to be the guy who stood up and said, well, you guys are talking about it all wrong. But so then I get a message from Jason and he goes, you better do something now. So I interject myself and I discuss what we do here and some of the power that has come from it, along with the power of social media. And the way of the future is not how the good old boys club has always done it.
You don't even share that with this, Ted.
I know.
Yeah, well,
You're
and
mean.
here's the thing. He's being modest. He crushed it. Crushed it.
I don't
we
believe
were
Thank you.
we were
Yeah,
talking about,
does anybody have
you know,
one team?
the new era, the new generation, you know, the power of just a TikTok,
Yeah.
Instagram,
Instagram,
Facebook, Snapchat.
Yeah.
It's the new wave. I mean, these guys are talking about how do we get employees and how do we, if you're not on those platforms and your business isn't out there and networking on social media, you're never going to touch the minds of the youth that's coming up, because they are now, you know, TikTok
That's
is the
the only
new
way.
gospel.
You're
Yeah.
also failing and missing something that's honestly free.
Free. Well, I talked about that. I spoke about that. I'm like,
I mean, people pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to advertise in print and on, you know, commercials. I mean, just the other day, I was driving just yesterday and I was driving on the highway and all these billboards. And I was like, who still pays for billboards?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's bizarre, right? But they won't
it isn't that bizarre. And I'll tell you why before we go.
Chad just got a new billboard.
No, Lindsay 10 years ago worked.
He's got one behind him.
Worked for a guy, Lance Bachman, great dude, that left Yellow Pages and he went to the internet, and his spiel, he owns a company called One SEO now, which is a big SEO company. But his spiel was like, you pay $5,000 or $3,000 for that billboard. This is what we can do on all this thing. So that was literally like their sales tactic for the first 2 years of him doing this. Like 4 or 5 years ago, I fly into Philadelphia. I get in a car, somebody picks me up, and there's 7 billboards of Lance Bachman and One SEO on the highway. And I was like, you're such a jerk.
Well, there's a difference if you buy them all. That's different. Yeah. One is no bueno, but if you put up 40 of them.
But I thought it was really funny because that was it was like his enemy. And then he was like, that's how I can advertise now, which is strange, but hey,
crazy.
Whatever works.
Great.
Well, we should let Jason go.
Yeah, we should let Jason get back to his job, and us derelicts have some more duties to do.
Talking over.
Hey, Jason, thank you so much, my friend. I can't wait till we get together again. We'll have a blast. We'll grab some steaks, have some drinks, and enjoy ourselves. Thank you so much, and we will talk to you very soon, my friend.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, guys.
Jason.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jason. That was absolutely the worst interview we've ever done. No, I'm kidding.
I think he was undercover.
What?
I think he was undercover.
Stop.
Sorry.
It. Yeah, stop it. No, seriously, Jay, all kidding aside, that was awesome. I love it when I learn something about an industry I don't know a whole lot about, and then the amount of details and everything that go behind what you actually do. I think we say that a lot.
The niche of the industry is pretty cool. It's just a niche of the entire construction.
Niche or Niche?
Niche? Target?
Niche.
We haven't talked about that, Joe.
All right.
Niche. What?
Target.
Teddy's luggage fiasco.
We'll talk about that some other time.
Yeah, I have to, because I need a whole.
Ted just didn't get his. Ted just didn't get his.
No, I don't even bother with it.
But
I
don't
next
even want
week
to give
for
it
that
away. We'll
story.
do it next week. It'll be in the intro next week.
Yeah, it'll be in the intro next week, and trust me, you want to tune in. It was the best.
Yes, you do, Steve. Look forward to that one.
It's the best, worst day of Ted's life.
For Joe.
The best, worst day.
And then I got to double up on the experience on the way home.
Yes. Yes, it was amazing.
The one thing I did want to mention before we head out, Joe and I are at the Greater Chesapeake Damage Prevention Show next week with
Adam Clary. Yep.
With Adam. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is that Joe, this entire week at SGA, we had to lug boxes across the street to SGA to the actual show, like probably a quarter mile.
No. There's no
Joe refused to do it. But Joe texted me yesterday morning and said, you guys completely paid me back for not carrying anything because we left everything in the booth. And he probably, I assume he had to carry it all out.
Yeah. I knew that was going to happen, which is why I was so like, I'm not carrying it down because I knew I was going to have to carry all of it back. 100% it was.
I don't think
I saw it all there. I was the last one to leave on Wednesday night there.
Yeah, when you were playing cornhole. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, when we finished the cornhole tournament, and I went back over to our booth and I was like, oh, the sound equipment, I got to make sure. Wait a minute.
It's going.
It's
thanks Joe. Thanks for helping.
Yeah.
3 trips.
I would have drove her car over there, but
inside.
I drove it right inside the building.
That
what
was
the hard part.
Believe it or not, at the Marcellus Shale Coalition show in Pittsburgh, you would literally take your stuff to the door.
They said
you could in the loading dock right behind our booth.
It was still a 3.5 mile walk. I walked it. It was like not even worth it. It was just taking the direction going a different way because because by the time I got down there, every truck and every union guy had like filled that entire space.
I should have just when you wouldn't carry the one in, I should have just broke it.
That one did not come home.
It did. Yeah. That one didn't make it home. The broken banner.
No, that's sitting in a pile somewhere. Nope, that was gone. I wasn't going to carry that again. We've already moved that around enough.
That banner has been from New York to West Virginia, back to New York to Charlotte, and now it's just found its resting place.
There's a homeless man in Charlotte covering up
wrapped in
banner right
we'll
now.
also probably end up with like a $300 bill for disposal, but cross that bridge when we get to it.
All right, let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here. Hey guys, remember to click like, subscribe, share, follow, comment, tweet, retweet, hashtag, all of the popular social media words. Do some of that.
TikTok.
We don't have a Twitter.
We should have a TikTok page.
Don't give me. I love TikTok.
I don't know how to do TikTok though.
I'm really good
at TikTok.
I don't know.
Nobody our age goes on TikTok but me. So
no, Lindsay spends 7 hours a day on TikTok.
I can verify that.
I'm gonna go find Mrs. Cooves. She's probably got some funny content.
No, she doesn't really put anything out. She just goes.
She's a lurker.
Yeah.
Got it. All right. We love you guys. We'll check in next week with you. You guys have a great week. See you out.